Alright, before we get into this clip, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers. I would really appreciate that. So, let's get on with this. Now, I know, we don't like having to listen to Candace, and I cut the videos down as much as possible and to make them as short as possible. But I have to leave enough in to where we get the full context. So, I know, guys, I totally understand. It's just a couple minutes. And remember, okay, this is September 30th, 20 days after the assassination. At this point, no one has seen those screenshots outside of Andrew and whoever he shared them with. Okay? They haven't been released to the public yet. Candace has not shown them on her show yet. So as she's talking, pay very close attention to the words that she uses in comparison to what that screenshot says. Because, like as I just said, they had not been released yet.
I'm going to state this, and I'm going to challenge Turning Point USA executives to issue a very clean statement saying that I am lying if this is not true. About 48 hours before Charlie Kirk died, Charlie informed people at Turning Point, as well as Jewish donors and a rabbi, that he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause outright. Okay, Charlie was done. He said it explicitly that he refused to be bullied anymore by the Jewish donors. Can you guys answer? Did he express that? Did he also express that he wanted to bring me, Candace Owens, back because he was standing up for himself? And then did he, just 48 hours later, conveniently catch a bullet to the throat before our onstage reunion could happen? It's a yes or a no. Okay, let's stop this ditching. Let's stop the dodging. Let's explicitly, I want to hear from Turning Point USA that I'm lying about that. I want you to say, no, it was just, he was feeling a little bit of pressure. No, I want you to literally answer what I have just said. It either happened or it didn't. I'm either making it all up or it happened exactly as I'm saying. And while we're at it, may I ask, what is the name of the Jewish donor who sponsored the Hamptons weekend? Okay. And to Pastor Rob McCoy, were there any LLCs that you or your son were being paid through that sat outside of Turning Point? I'm asking that question genuinely. Yeah, I'm putting the fire here right at the feet of Turning Point because I am disgusted. I am genuinely disgusted. I am looking around and wondering whether Charlie's entire life was the Truman Show. None of you guys are behaving in the way that you should be behaving, okay? There is no way you are letting these lies fly unless, as I am hearing, unless it is true that there was a big payday that was on the line. And if Charlie radically stated that he was done with Israel, if Charlie said he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause because of, and I quote, Jewish donors, the behavior of Jewish donors, if he said that, yes or no, well then, I don't know, maybe some people didn't want to take that risk that he was going to become Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA with all of those presences, so much presence across college campuses. Maybe they didn't want to take the chance. You see, I'm just one person, so it's easy to just try to cancel my life and lie on me every second of every day. But Turning Point USA, I think, got a little bit bigger than Charlie, and I'm no longer going to allow this lie in this narrative. So answer the questions, yes or no. And I'm going to, again, challenge you to lie. And if you do lie, I'm going to expose the lies, and I'm going to start dropping videos, actually. So that's where I'm at. Enough of the games, enough with trying to allow Israel to wrangle a narrative that you know is not true. Charlie did not die pro-Israel. He did not die for Israel. He did not martyr himself as a friend of Israel. In fact, the friends of Israel were pressuring him really badly, and he was done, and he finally stood up for himself. And I'm proud of that. And I will say this, you know what? Somewhere, Charlie is watching, okay? And I hope he knows that we are reunited. Okay, we're on stage right now, and the Jewish donors are very angry about it, extremely angry about it. But it feels good to know that in the end, truth is going to win. So accept my challenge or don't.
Okay, so that was a lot. Okay, first of all, if Charlie is looking down, he is absolutely disgusted with her behavior, no doubt. But notice how she quoted everything that was in that screenshot, everything that was in that message. No choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. But she takes quite a bit of liberty with the screenshot. Actually says, I'm thinking of inviting Candace. And most of us took that as a joke, like a sarcastic. In this episode, she poses it as if Charlie Kirk was about to bring her back to Turning Point, and the way she phrases it, she's basically insinuating that had something to do with the assassination. And of course she references this big payday. She basically, at this point, I don't know if she actually had the screenshot or if someone had just told her what was in it. But either way, she's taking what's in it and blowing it way out of proportion. She also throws in the Hamptons, and she also poses it as a all or nothing challenge to TPUSA. Either everything she's saying is true or everything is a lie. There is no in between. And that's just not, that's not the way it is. That's very rarely in life is that how things go. So this is where the screenshot information starts. With Candace Owens, episode 245 on September 30th, she speaks, quote, word for word, what is in the screenshots. Now, on October 6th, episode 248, this is the episode where she actually shows them. But when she shows it, she does not go back and reference what she said days ago. She doesn't connect the two. She leaves it open.
Charlie was done with Israel bullying him. That's what bothers me so much about this man. Him allowing these headlines, Charlie's pastor speaks out, crushes Candace because of what she said, not whatever. I don't like it. He knew, and others knew, that Charlie was done with Israel bullying him, and I am now going to present you proof of what I am saying. This is an actual group chat, which happened 2 days before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There were 9 people in total on this chat, including Charlie and Rob McCoy. I'm going to protect the names of the other 7 for now. To be clear, I might actually release a name every day this week, but I want to show you this because suffice it to say, Rob McCoy was on this text thread, and I think it helps contextualize him as a person, in my view, that he would attack me for telling the truth about the pressure that he was facing. Take a look. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, 2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit, and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
So you can see that she took a lot of liberty with what she said in the first episode. She kept using the word abandon. He was going to abandon Israel. Abandon Israel outright, turning his back on Israel. Then when she presents the screen grab, she reads it, but she reads it the way that she sees it. Like, just lost another huge Jewish donor, 2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Now, somebody else might read it as, I just lost another huge Jewish donor, 2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Basically saying, hey, they don't like Tucker? Let's see how much they like Candace. And that's how the majority of us took it. And then he goes on, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. Now, obviously, he was pissed off. This message is at 3:49. This one's at 3:54. The man has only had like 5 minutes to digest this. And up here, there's a message from 3:48. So basically, this whole thing is only from 3:49 to 3:54. So this is 3 minutes. This is like, Charlie just rapid firing out his emotions at that moment. I would say this was an emotional message to people he felt comfortable with, comfortable enough to vent to. You have your group or your friend that you vent to. I think that's what these people were to Charlie. From what I understand, this group on WhatsApp had been ongoing for months. It's something that Charlie started, and from what I know, Charlie Kirk, Rob McCoy, the Rabbi Wallachy, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Josh Hammer, and Andrew Colvett are 5 of the 9 people that are on it. Not everybody has come public, and I don't blame them. Because after this, Josh Hammer had to go all over on like a PR tour to clear his name after Candace. Alright, so on the timeline where we are right now is Candace does an episode talking about what's on the screenshot. 3 episodes later, she shows the actual screenshot. So we have, this is when she says what's on it. this is when she shows it. And then the next day, Andrew Colvett, they come out and say that yes, the screen grab is real, and this is her episode where she reacts to it. And we'll get to see Andrew's reaction.
For Andrew Colvett in his own words.
But I want to take the start of this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there. I first want to say the reason I didn't share that screen grab publicly is because it was a private exchange, and I felt like it didn't necessarily comport with things that were already public. I wanted to not betray my friends' trust in that way. But I did share it with some people in government because it happened really quick. It was, it took 33 hours for authorities to get their suspect. And in those first moments, we wanted no stone unturned. We wanted to leave nothing unturned. So I shared it with a few people. Don't know where it went from there, apparently. But here we are. So one of the reasons, Blake, that I'm glad to have this now public, it was not mine to share publicly, but one of the criticisms we've received is that we don't care. We're not investigating every lead. We're not looking under every stone. And that somehow we're just sweeping things under the rug. And when I say that we want justice for Charlie more than anybody else, I really mean it, and no stone unturned. I mean, I don't know if you want to chime in on that part alone, but I have more to say.
Yeah, so it has been so frustrating to have people blow up about this.
Yeah.
And I've certainly stated publicly, the reason I haven't weighed in on things is I am an eyewitness to events, and they've said, don't comment on things because anything you say can mess that up. I don't want to mess up any trial for the person who did this.
That's 1,000% right. And I will say I wasn't an eyewitness. I was not there. I flew to Utah immediately to be with the family and the team, but I was not an eyewitness. So there's that. But I am aware that in my role as spokesman for Turning Point USA, which is another hat I wear, that things I say, I'm cognizant of the fact that things I say could negatively impact an ongoing investigation. All right. But I will weigh in specifically on this issue of Israel because I know there's a lot of fascination. And I just want to say that, we have to let free speech be our North Star here. Okay. Charlie was adamantly free speech. And I am not personally going to impugn anybody's character who is asking questions and looking for answers. All right. And I will say that text chain is consistent with public frustrations that he voiced many times. And I know, Blake, you were in the trenches on a lot of this stuff because we were workshopping how we were going to do the tour and what he's going to get asked about Israel, what was he going to say. And this is consistent with things that he told his friends, people that are, in the wider movement about his wrestle that he was going. And so I just want to say, what is the truth about the way Charlie felt about Israel? Well, it's complicated and it's nuanced, and it was a wrestle that was going on for months, and it's probably somewhere between the BB letter and the text.
So what do we think? Okay, obviously, you can tell he's anxious. You can tell he's nervous speaking about this. I am sure it was positively frantic at Turning Point USA yesterday. I am sure he had very little sleep. And like I say, never the fun thing to be the spokesperson and also to be involved in the story. I can tell you right off the bat, he is telling the truth. He was not the person who shared that message with me. He also should know that he was not the only person who sent that message and sent messages around. So there are a lot circulating, some videos that are circulating. And he's being honest about that portion. I personally, as someone who knows Andrew Colvett, I want to express how I feel. I hold it against him, actually, that he didn't share it with me. He knew. I cried on the phone with Andrew. He knew how I was feeling. And then I went under of
I just had to pause right here. Because where we're at right now, what she is about to say is just, it blew my mind when I was clipping this out to make this video. Listen to what she has the nerve to say after what she's been doing to Erica.
A very, well, you could say a blitzkrieg, right? A heavy bombardment from people who he knows hated Charlie, who tried to stop Charlie, people who had no issues showing up to his memorial. I mean, really gross stuff, who were attacking me. And he could have at least provided some cover. Now, I'm not saying that I need help, but sometimes it's nice to offer somebody a lifeboat when they're being attacked for telling the truth, right? So I do want to say that. Also, I'm glad that Andrew responded correctly, because I was going to say this when Blake's like, well, the investigation's ongoing. That text message has nothing to do with an investigation whatsoever. It has to do with the broader question of people feeling that Charlie's legacy is intentionally being hijacked by Israel. I never stated that Israel killed Charlie. Anybody that's been watching this investigative series, we've come up, there hasn't even been an Israeli name that's popped up in this investigation. There's only been one Jewish person, I think, that's popped up thus far in this investigation, which is George Zinn, decoy boy. So they're just saying that. I just wanted to say that he was under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Okay, so she just said that it has absolutely nothing to do with the investigation. Now here we are in March of 2026, and Joe Kent is running around on every podcast that will have him saying that there was foreign influences or entities involved in the case that he wasn't allowed to investigate. So yes, Candace, it did have something to do with the investigation, but as usual, you run your mouth and worry about consequences later. But Andrew said that he shared it with some people in government, a few. Notice he never mentions Joe Kent. And he says that he's glad that the screenshot was shared. And he said basically what I said, that Charlie's feelings on Israel were nuanced. Because people like Candace with Israel derangement syndrome can't separate the fact that there is the theological Israel, which means, your biblical belief and love for Israel. And then there is the political side, which would be Bibi, and what the government is doing. Now, I don't believe that Charlie would ever have completely abandoned Israel just based on his faith. And like Andrew said, he didn't think that it was right to release those publicly, because that is something that Charlie never said publicly. And now he isn't here to correct the record. So if anybody is trying to hijack Charlie's legacy, it's people like Candace, not Turning Point. So since Joe Kent's resignation, Turning Point, the Charlie Kirk show, they put out, of course they had to address the screenshot, because as I just said, Joe Kent is running around to every podcast that will have him running his mouth about the case and the screenshots. And a lot of people think he's the one that leaked them to Candace. I personally do. Given everything that we know now, I think it was him. And after I'm done playing this clip, I will explain exactly why. Real quick before we play this clip, if you're enjoying this, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. I love having you. I read and answer all the comments, but definitely if you can, hit the like button. I have a little buddy who comes and hits the dislike button every time I release a video. So if you could hit the like button, that would be awesome. And to you, the one who's actually hitting the dislike button, I know more than likely you're probably not watching this video, but if by chance you are, I see you and I appreciate you. Even though you hit the thumbs down, that's okay. God still loves you.
I want to address something that emerged over the weekend, and really it's kind of been a storyline, I guess, for the last week or so after the resignation of Joe Kent. So we had touched on it a couple times last week. Obviously, it's consumed a lot of media. President Trump's being asked about it and whatnot. The central claim, though, that I want to get to is, was Joe Kent leaking certain information? And over the weekend, a clip came up, and it's gone a little bit viral. I want to address it. Let's go ahead and play it. Cut 16.
The way that those screenshots got to Candace is via Joe Kent. Andrew Colvett. Andrew was in the chat group as well. He was one of the 9 people in the group. And he admitted at first, to be perfectly honest, at first he was denying it. We didn't know how Candace got them. But then he admitted on the air, on his show, that he had given these text messages, and he gave them to, he said that on the show that he gave them to someone in the government. He told us that he gave them to someone in the government. Joe Kent was someone that we knew that there was a relationship there between Charlie and Andrew and Joe. We knew that when Charlie would visit Washington, D.C., he would talk to Joe. We kind of verified that the messages had been given by Andrew to Joe Kent, and that Joe Kent had been the one to pass them on to Candace.
All right, so Verified's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I do want to confirm what I can confirm, and that is that, yes, in the immediate aftermath, I did provide the group chat to Joe Kent. We don't throw around accusations recklessly here. We don't. There's a lot of people that do that online. We don't do that. We think that's keeping in the spirit of Charlie's spirit. And the way we choose to do things is we try and be responsible. So, yes, in a spirit of looking at every lead, turning over every stone, we wanted everybody that needed to know anything that we knew. Not just, I mean, and by the way, we've been accused of not being interested in the truth.
And just to remind people what this is referring to, this is after Charlie's murder, there were text messages that from a private group chat that were made public. And were used to, frankly, kick off the big conspiracy theory that we've run into over and over again, which is that Israel or the Jews had Charlie murdered.
So,
which we do not believe.
But we have been accused of trying to, or we're not interested in the truth. The actual fact of the matter is that behind the scenes, we have given everything we know to give, every single piece of information. This was one of them. I was told I could trust Joe Kent. I provided the screen grabs to Joe Kent, and I don't know what happened to them at that point. Okay, I just want to make that very clear. Eventually, Joe did message me and suggest that I make those screen grabs public. I declined because those were shared privately. I didn't want to be reckless with them in the public. There could be innocent people on that group chat that would then be harmed. So I declined. But then, fast forward another week or two, and they were made public. So that's what I know, is that Joe suggested that they be made public. I declined. Then they were made public. Can I 100% categorically say that he leaked them? No. But those are the facts. Maybe somebody on his team. Maybe they got passed around. Maybe somebody else leaked them. But those are the facts of the matter, and that's what I know.
Yeah, and the reason we're bringing this up, obviously with his departure from the administration, there's a lot of debate over what it means. People have been arguing, was he a leaker? Some people have suggested he might be a criminal, he should be indicted. We're not saying that, but this has come up. And
Yeah. Well, and my name's getting tossed around with this as if I did something untoward. No, I don't regret any of it. I regret that they were leaked. I was told that I could trust them. I told that it was private and it would be guarded just to look into any possible leads. And by the way, we did that with a bunch of different things because we want the truth to come out. So we're not blocking anything. We don't even care if the answer is something that is really, really terrible, okay? We want the truth. We want justice. And we believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. We believe that they got their guy. We have additional questions. But guess what? It was an egregious breach. Whoever shared that screen grab publicly, it was an egregious breach. And obviously, we're not happy about it. But can't put it back together again. Can't put the paste back in the tube, as they say. And so, again, I just want to be very clear. I don't know who ultimately shared that publicly. But the facts are, Joe Kent was one of the people that had it. Very, very, very small group of people. Maybe one of his team members, whatever. But he did suggest that it was shared publicly. We declined because Charlie had every opportunity to say publicly what he believed. He did not say that publicly. And so far be it from me to put words in his mouth, okay? That was something that was private. So we wanted to keep it private. And I think that's being in keeping with being a good friend, okay? And just preserving somebody's trust. In their privacy. So now everybody knows. Yes, Joe Kent had it. Yes, he did suggest leaking it. Can't prove that he was the one. But those are the facts because there's been a lot of noise made about this in the past, whether, or in the recent week about allegations of leaking and things like that. I got nothing. I don't know anything other than that piece of the puzzle, okay? That's all I know. And I'm not going to recklessly tarnish somebody's reputation if I don't have all the facts. But now that my name's being brought up into it, I wanted to address it.
Okay, and that's kind of what I do here with my videos. I put together all the pieces of the puzzle. We started with Candace's episode where she quotes what's in the screenshot. Then she, about 5-6 days later, shows the screenshot. Then fast forward 6 months, Joe Kent resigns, and now we have this piece of the puzzle, which allowed me to put the whole thing together. Andrew gave the screenshot to Joe Kent. Joe Kent pressured Andrew to make the screenshot public. Andrew declined. Now, if we go by the timeline, Charlie was assassinated September 10th. Right after that, Andrew shares the screenshots from the WhatsApp group to Joe Kent. Then after that, Joe Kent asks Andrew to make them public. Andrew says no. So, Joe Kent, not being able to get Andrew to make them public, he or somebody else gets that information to Candace. So by September 30th, 20 days later, Candace is quoting what's on the screen grabs on her show. And then by October 6th, she actually is in possession of the screenshot. So within less than a month, just shy of a month, that screenshot went from Andrew to Joe to Candace. Now, obviously, we can't prove from here that Joe Kent was for sure the one who gave it to Candace, but considering Andrew said he gave it to Joe, and Joe wanted it public, and Candace was behaving the way she was behaving, and he knew that she would make it public, it seems pretty likely that Joe Kent was the one who leaked the screenshot to Candace. Also, Candace used that screenshot for a lot more than just blaming Israel. Really, she's used it, it's been used more by more people to suggest that Charlie had completely turned his back on Israel. It's been used for that more so than to blame Israel for the assassination. And I don't know if Andrew and Blake are unaware of that, or they just don't want to admit that. I think Andrew probably really regrets even sharing that WhatsApp screenshot. I mean, did he really think that donors had anything to do with the assassination? I understand, right after something like that happens, the authorities ask, I'm sure, what had been going on, had Charlie had any arguments, or was anything strange going on, and that is why Andrew shared them. But Andrew also makes it sound like he shared many pages from that WhatsApp group chat, and only the one has actually surfaced. And I have a theory about that, because it is the only one that fits their Charlie was leaving Israel narrative. Because even though Charlie was supposedly turning his back on Israel, he still attended the Zoom call that took place at 6:30 that evening. And he also went back into the WhatsApp and spoke to Josh Hammer. So this is Josh Hammer's. Josh Hammer shared this after Candace shared hers, showing that Charlie Kirk, did the Zoom call, and then he thanked everybody for attending the Zoom call. So even though he was supposedly turning his back on Israel, he still met with everyone to discuss how to handle all the questions that were coming in about Israel. In conclusion, we got the timeline. Charlie is assassinated on September 10th. The screenshots are shared with Joe Kent. Joe Kent asks Andrew to make them public. Andrew declines. Then by September 30th, Candace is quoting what is on those screenshots word for word. And by October 6th, she is showing them on her show. So, less than a month, the screenshot goes from Andrew to Joe to public. And by the way, Andrew, he says it's an egregious crime to whoever shared them publicly. It was Candace who blasted them to the world. Yes, it was also egregious to whoever shared them to Candace. It was also egregious, but ultimately Candace is the one that put them on a screen in front of millions of people, and now they are being used to twist and turn and speculate on how Charlie actually felt about Israel when he's no longer here to defend himself, which is a very disgusting thing, because he was asked that what does he want to be remembered for when he dies? And his answer to that question was courage and his faith. He wanted to be remembered for his faith, his strength and courage in his faith. And for people to be questioning his faith is probably, besides the fact that they are dragging his widow through the pits of hell with their disgusting accusations, they are also questioning a man's faith, a man who his faith was more important to him than anything else. And we're talking about a man who built TPUSA and helped get President Trump elected. He did amazing things, but at the end, he wanted to be remembered for his faith. So twisting his faith around is about the worst thing you could do. And if you were a friend to Charlie and that's what you're doing now, obviously you weren't a very good friend. But that is all I have for you guys tonight, which actually was quite a bit. I think this video is running into the 45-minute mark. So thank you so much for watching it. I hope you got something out of it. I like doing these kinds of videos when you actually see the clips back to back right next to each other. It really hits differently, and you can see the manipulation and the change. And like Andrew, you could see the total shift from how he spoke in October of last year to how he was speaking this week. So I really enjoy doing that. That is what I did with Cameragate as well. It's kind of cool to put the pieces together like that. So if you enjoy content like this and are just interested in the truth, hit the like button and subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel. That is it for this episode. I will see you on the next one.